Hello again, guys. It's Gregola Productions here, and welcome back to the GPWS, where we've got our two advertising clocks made by the advertising company that I can barely find any information on. I found more clocks. I've even found different versions of the Bateman's Jewelers clock. All images of the Palm Dairies clock that I was able to find online back in 2019 are just totally gone. Maybe I didn't look hard enough, but I don't see them around anymore. That's okay, we've got this one. If no one else will document it, then we will. Okay, so what is going on, and we'll talk more about the actual company behind these clocks later, but what is going on now? So in the last episode, we pulled out the Palm Dairies motor, and it runs really well, and as you can see, it's running. It got started with very little effort. It's been running ever since, and you know, the whole fiasco with the pliers and oil, it's been running ever since then, so it's having basically no problems at all, really. And you can see there it's going, and that's how these are supposed to work. Now, I know in the last part, or maybe it was the part before, that we talked about a backup plan in case this didn't work. And it appears from the methods that we've been trying, this motor is not wanting to run. Or is it? That is the question. See, we've got the power hooked up here. I can feel it vibrating, but nothing's happening there. And it's been like this ever since I stopped these for a week. I was gonna let these run for a week, but just to test their, I don't know, test and see what would happen, I stopped them for a week, started them up again. This guy kinda wanted to run, but not really. So this is the motor out of the Bateman's clock. The other one is the Palm Dairies one. So what are we gonna do here? Well, if we look around this particular clock, I need to grab myself a pointer. If we look around this motor, we can see there's not much to this thing. You got the gear up here, you got the drive gear, and in a very rare turn of events, you've actually got access to 4 pivots in here. Most clocks that are like this, or most clocks with motors like this, you don't even have access to these guys. You just have access to this. And the Landshire motor that we worked on a while ago, and the Telecron one, would both be examples of that. So we've got some access to pivots here. We've got access to this gear. This whole front cover here may or may not come off. It looks like it's kind of held on there with tabs or something. These look bent over. I guess I wouldn't call them tabs, but these are bent over. Not sure what is going on there. Maybe someone tried to get into this thing, and I guess they failed at it. And we've got these 2 flaps here for the screws. You can see that this is in 2 pieces. We'll come back to that later. And we've got our motor itself. This is the actual motor, or yeah, this is where the coil and stuff is. This is the gearbox. This is the coil, and you've got these kind of almost vent-looking things on here. Oh, just start. It did. See, that's the thing. When you lift this, sometimes it'll just want to go. So anyway, you got these vent-looking things on the back here, and this is the only identification that this motor has. That's an M registered M004, 60 hertz, and someone in the comments, thank you very much, said that that's a 120 volts AC current, so that's fantastic. It's a 3-watt motor, and you have access to another pivot. And that's all we have access to, and of course there's the cord sticking out the back. What if I told you that this company had been up to other things? Now, I haven't really researched this company, and I still don't know what it's called. I just know it by M right now. That company has been up to other things, and things that are much later than this particular clock here. That's right, I've come across a fantastic piece of information that I didn't know about, and I've learned about it only today, just by typing M004 1 RPM synchronous motor into the search bar on YouTube, and I found an absolutely amazing thing. Another variant of these motors is in use in Whirlpool ice makers, in freezers. another variant of, I believe it's smaller than this one, but it's almost the same exact idea. And the M company has at least made on the Whirlpool versions of it, or maybe there's other refrigerator companies appliance companies that have these motors in their ice makers. They've got this section, and then they've got a different type of gearbox to drive the the ice maker. So the way that, and I'll link the video down in the description, one of the first search results I found was by this guy who had repaired his ice maker, and what had happened was this part had failed. This section here had failed somehow, according to him. I'm not sure what exactly happened. I really would have to look at it myself to really know. Heck, maybe the same problem that's plaguing this plagued his ice maker. I don't know. Apparently, according to him, this failed, so the gearbox was okay, and he was able to separate this from the gearbox. And if we look at this, this is in two pieces. So here's our gearbox. This is a different type of gearbox than the one that's on the Whirlpool ice makers. This is the same though, although his might have been smaller. I'm thinking his is a later version. It seems to still be the same idea though. We're gonna just unplug this here quick, and we're gonna try something here. We're gonna give something an attempt. So what he did was this, as I said, this unit supposedly failed, although I'm kind of skeptical of that, but if he says so, I mean, it's his machine, and he knows more about refrigerators than I do, so maybe I shouldn't be talking. This comes off, and you can see this turns to the left and right, and you know what, there's oil all over everything, so I'm just going to bring this over to the table. We're not going to work on it on this nice piece of furniture here. I don't want oil all over this thing. So anyways, the guy who's working on that refrigerator ice machine, he said that this top section, the actual coil, had failed and that the gearbox was okay. And it appears to be from the same company. Well, appears to be. Although off the top of my head, I can't remember if it had that M logo on the back. I know the one he replaced had a paper label, and then the one he replaced it with looked more like this, so I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, what he did was he just took it and just turned it to the right, and oh, there it is. There she goes. That's what he did right there. And of course, you'd never know, well, maybe you would know that, from looking at it like that. I mean, you can see, is this turning? Yeah, it is. Sorry, let me try this again. I was so flabbergasted by that whole thing there. I didn't even expect that to work. But anyway, this is what he did. The gearbox and this were two separate pieces, and the Watchworks told me that these were two separate pieces, and I could tell. I mean, looking at it like that, okay, yeah, it's two separate pieces. But how do you get them apart? The Watchworks suggested that there was some kind of tab in here that you grab or something that you press down and turn, but no. So, or maybe I just misinterpreted what he was saying. I don't know. But anyway, the point is, this is apart now, and the Whirlpool refrigerator ice maker units, at least for that particular model, has this type of design. So this is our gearbox right here. Oh wow, this is turning really free. Wow, look at that. Get some good speed on that. Okay. Yeah, we've got these free now. I see this is riveted together. Looks, oh man, well, is it? Can we get this apart somehow? I don't know. I'd almost be half tempted to get this can out of here and then just have the gear train all by itself. But yeah, this is our problem here. So, good for him, I guess. He fixed his refrigerator unit, and hopefully with the information that he gave us, we can fix this particular motor here. And you can see there's those tabs there, and yeah, we got this figured out. So this, I mean, it seems, you know, when we grab the wheel here, this all spins freely in there, and we'll get a closer look at what's in there in a second. But yeah, we're gonna plug this in, see what this guy has to say. I just want to see again. I just want to see that running again before we do anything. his refrigerator motor had a different gear. We'll just call it a refrigerator motor for the time being, but his ice maker motor had a different gear on there compared to the one that we're looking at. It was set up a different way. Okay, so anyway, we're gonna turn our power on. There we go. Okay. Oh, hang on. Maybe this is the, whoa, maybe this is the problem area right here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, that's our rattling right there. Something's, you know, I thought the gearbox was giving us trouble, but no, it's actually this unit. Wow, okay. I thought this would be all seized up, but no, it's this thing. What is going on here? It seems to not be spinning quite right. Seems like this is bent somehow. Sorry if I can't explain anything worth an actual, you know. I'm trying my best, guys. Yeah, this unit is screwing us up here, because this keeps stopping. Huh, who would have guessed? I don't want to wreck that plastic gear there. That's unfortunate that that's made of plastic. Come on. Yeah, it's definitely what's causing us trouble here. I wonder if I can just put some oil on that. I know this is how we constantly solve our problems, guys. Just dump oil on everything. It's actually not usually, but this is a very special case. We'll look at that gearbox more later. I just kind of want to see what is going on with this. Yeah, it looks like it's bent. That's interesting. That's very bizarre. I've never seen that before. Yeah, and it's not. Okay. There's our problem area, guys. Come on. I want to try and pull that thing out, but it doesn't look like it wants to come. It looks like this plastic is somehow... looks like this is jamming up on here somehow. I see no more company information. I just see a 65. Ooh, yikes. I see there's oil all over this. We'll try and clean that up later. I don't want to get electrocuted here, folks. There's our... yeah. Okay, so we're back, and basically what's happened is I've been playing around with stuff and trying to mentally comprehend what I've been looking at. So, okay, if we look at this again, yes, this is a bigger version and a much older version of the motors seen on those Frigidaire ice makers, or at least the ice maker that I was looking at. I don't know if it was Frigidaire exclusively using those and no other refrigerator company. I don't know how that works, if they order their ice makers from somebody else or how that all goes around. But anyway, this is basically the same thing, and this just pops apart very, very simply. You turn that to the right, and then there you go. You have access to your gears, which are made of plastic, unfortunately. This area looks like it's doesn't want to come apart. This stuff looks like it's keeping it together. Yeah, I don't think those are the pivots there for the other side. I don't think there's really a great way to get that open. I don't really feel like opening this, to be honest with you. We've got some holes to oil stuff through, so you've got gear teeth there we have access to. And of course, oh, here. So there we are. We got probably some nylon gears in there. Both of these are the exact same. If we take our fingers and just spin that gear, stuff starts moving. And there it goes. I'm not sure, like I used the Mobile OW-40 fully synthetic oil on this. I don't know if these would have been originally like lubricated with silicone grease back in the day. I'm really not sure. This would have been oiled, but I don't know about the rest of this. I don't know if silicone grease would have been used here. I'm really not quite sure. If it was there, it's definitely degraded by now. But yeah, that is the quote-unquote gearbox. And guys, I was wrong. This gearbox, both gearboxes actually, were not having issues. It was this area here. What was going on on the, and this is the Palm Dairies motor here. This is from clock number 2. The motor has this in it, and I will admit there is a very, very slight difference on this later version than the earlier version, and it seemed like the older one was getting jammed up somehow. I'm not sure. It seemed like this shaft was bent in one way or another. Of course, on this one, when you turn it on, it just starts, right? And then, you know. So I guess this was somehow seized up. I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, on this clock, it's okay. But on the other one, it was having some kind of issue here. It looks like this is upgraded, though, because... Oh, wait. Nope, disregard. Forget what I said there. It looked different from that angle. But anyway... This is a slightly different gear they got on here. The other one, as I said, it looked like the shaft was bent or something. I just poured a whole bunch of oil in here using the same Mobil oil, and now both motors work fine. None of them stop. You know, this one is completely silent. The other one makes a little bit of noise because that shaft or whatever is still bent, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. So if we go here, this is the Bateman Jewelers clock. This is from clock number 1. If we just take that off, we see our older gear there, and it looks like on this version there's a cutoff point, kinda. There's just a smooth area, and then there's teeth. On the newer one, they don't have that point. They just have the whole thing as one giant plastic gear, which is interesting. And if we start this, so this is what was making the rattling sound. And yeah, I just poured oil down in here, and now we're running non-stop. And we start on command, we stop on command. The gearbox is okay on this one. It's the same deal again. This just makes a little bit of noise. But it looks like our motor wants to run now. So I know I said earlier that, oh, it has to be the gearbox is the problem, nothing else. I was completely wrong because I couldn't see the problem. That's basically what was going on here. So I guess those Frigidaire guys are right. This is the problem area. But of course, problems can develop in here. But yeah, okay, well, now I believe that guy more because, you know, I thought this was really simple. It is a really simple device, but, you know, I thought this basically could do no wrong unless the coil was falling apart or something like that, which is not. But yeah, and also I was talking earlier about, you know, putting this in the oven to unseize the gears because I thought that was the problem. Yeah, don't do that. They're all made of plastic. Of course, I couldn't see that from the angle that, you know, we were looking at earlier. This is a really fantastic revelation to find this out and not make a really poor decision, which would totally destroy all this stuff. You can put Telecron rotors in the oven, at least the earlier ones anyway. They have steel gears inside. These do not. Do not put these in the oven. This is a very rare situation here where this comes apart. Usually there's some kind of gearbox strapped to some kind of motor on a lot of these later electric clocks, and it somehow doesn't come apart. Even access to these pivots on the front is rare. It's just, you know, this is just one of those situations where this just happens to come apart. So I'm going to call that motor fixed, and we can use it now. As I said, it does make a little bit of noise, and this isn't perfectly centered, but it does drive the gearbox, and it doesn't get stuck anymore. So yeah, this is what was getting stuck, and after pouring oil down in there, we're now ready to go again, it seems. So I guess that's what we'll do. We'll just start going. And oh, by the way, one thing I didn't consider at all while doing this, I know that was a lovely voice crack right there. Plastic gears. Okay, they're not steel gears, and sometimes you can't. Well, most of the time you're not oiling gears anyway, as far as I know on most things, but, or at least on clocks anyway. But we got to be careful to not use something that will destroy plastic in the long run. And I didn't think about that. The Watchworks, again, brought that up to me. he said, hey, careful on what oil you use, because if you use something that's petroleum based, the gears will probably swell up in 20, 30 years and not work. And of course, when you're doing work like this, you guys, you want to make sure that everything is okay for the long run. You know, 10 years of good performing like this is fine, but we want to get this going even longer. We're working on this clock. We're in here trying to maintain this thing and make sure it runs for many years yet. So to do that, you got to use or try to find good oil or grease for plastic gear wheels, and plastic gears are ones that you do oil, at least in this particular situation. Otherwise, you know, it depends on what, it's really a case-by-case basis. You know, you might have a different motor than I do, or something that has plastic gears, you know, just take it case by case. There isn't a one size, well, generally there isn't a one size fits all answer. I think the Mobil oil should be okay though. It's fully synthetic, so I don't think we'll have a problem there. I don't think I'm going to grease these either. I think I'm just going to oil them, because really, I don't know if there ever was silicone grease in there. And it seems like, I don't know, it seems like it's probably okay like that. Everything's nice and wet in there. If it gets dry, then it's all going to go to heck, and it's all going to fall apart and break and stuff like that. But we've got oil in the gearbox, so that's kind of the main thing. And this thing is leaking oil too, so we're try and wipe that off. This is not getting taken apart any further. I'm sure if we really wanted to, we could probably get in here more, but I don't want to, because this looks like a pain in the neck to reassemble. So, yeah. If there were screws here, that'd be a totally different story, but it looks like it's just being held together with this face here kind of deal. Yeah, it looks a little sketchy that way. So, we're gonna go ahead and rewire this now. And by the way, these wire merits, I don't know if you remember, or wire nuts, I guess, if you want to call them that. I don't know if you remember when we took the thing apart, how the wiring was done, where the wiring had to be cut to take this motor out. Yeah, we're going to be using those wire nuts again, because that doesn't make any sense to me. I think that, well, I guess it makes sense, but if someone ever had to come in here and take this off for whatever reason, or replace the motor or whatever, you know, I don't want someone rewiring this every single time. I think we're going to make it more repairable for everybody if we just use wire nuts again to hook the motor up to the clock. You know, that just, to me, that makes the most sense. Otherwise, everything else is going to be soldered in there. And that wiring that I plan to use, we'll see it in a second here, that what I plan to do should last a very long time. So hopefully, you know, if something ever goes wrong with this motor, it can be, and I hate to say it, but replaced with a quartz electric one, because really it doesn't make any sense to try and buy replacement parts for something like this. You know, plastic gears and all that stuff, I don't see the practicality in that at all. And I know you want to keep it original. I want to keep it original too. But parts for this particular thing are hard to find. Maybe, who knows, maybe you can take the Frigidaire motors or something and cook something up with that. So with that, let's just quickly put this back together, and I'll show you kind of how this looks. I might take this apart one more time and oil it some more. But if we just, yeah, we can really just stick this in here, on here, it just goes together, and then you just turn it. It's really not a half bad system. Oh, come on. I don't want it to. Now, this is the part where it breaks, right? Okay, here. Let's try this again. Oh my gosh, it's not gripping. I'm not gripping it at all. I think it did snap together there, because now it doesn't want to come apart. Oh, now it does. Oy, oy, oy. Okay, it just locks together like that. So now it's locked. Now it's unlocked. Okay, there we go. I was pushing it too much. It's really loose now. Before it was really tight, and now it's not. And of course, if we start this, that is now spinning. So that's great. The job has been done, and we've learned a lot of really half decent information about this thing. I thought I was going to have to take that shaft out of there somehow. I thought it was going to have to be rebent or something, but the oil has freed it up, and now it doesn't stop at all. So that's great. The motor is running again. And of course, what I was doing earlier, you know, pouring oil all over this, if I didn't have access to that, you know, that's all we could have done. You know, what else does a guy do? If you're stuck in that situation, then just try and do what I was doing earlier. But if you can get your motor open somehow, then you're 100 miles ahead of the game. You know what I mean? Okay, so our wiring diagram is basically the wiring, you know, this is your cord. It goes into the first socket here, and it goes straight in here like that. And you got your you got these blobs of solder there, and I assume it is soldered into those guys there. There we go, there's a much better view of everything. I wonder if that tab is held on by solder. I hope not. But anyway, then there's a screw hole there, and there's a rivet there. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's just these two we gotta worry about. This is socket number 1. And then, of course, the ground is poking out. I don't know how do you replicate this thing? We might just cut this off and just stick it on the new ground wire, because I don't know how in the world you get, well, unless this just unbends somehow. I don't know. We're just gonna reuse this, I think. This wiring is okay, but it's not great, but this I can reuse. So we're gonna do that. And then this is just basic extension cord wire. This is like a lamp cord right here. And it runs, we got the same thing happening again with a second socket. We got stuff going into these. Oh wait, no, this is different. This is interesting. Or is it different? Hold on. Okay, yeah, no, we have one. Okay, we got our, I don't know which one's which, because these don't seem to have a white or black wiring code on them. Like, obviously the ground is green. And by the way, who taught me any of this stuff? The Watchworks. Again, thank you, Watchworks, for actually explaining to me what the heck this is. Yes, this is a ground wire. We have a brand new extension cord we're going to use that also has a ground wire, and we're going to wire that into this system here. So that's going to take the place of this. This wiring, this probably has to be, like, this style probably came about in the late 50s. You never see wires with, oh, maybe I can get a better example of it here. Oh, never mind. I guess not. I've never seen this type of wire before. Any sort of new wiring like that is like this. Or, you know, or something, or maybe it's smaller. But very rarely do I see, maybe this is like Romex. You know, maybe this is in that ballpark. This is the closest thing, or Romex is the closest thing that I can think of to this wiring here. Not sure what exactly this is called. This is what we're going to replace it with. I see this is a hot, this is positive, this is neutral, and this is ground. I'm not sure if it would make a difference if the hot went in which socket. I don't really know if it does or not. Obviously, the ground pokes out, and we're going to wire that onto this using heat shrink tubing. We're going to stick, I think those guys are going to be stuck in there. Then we've just got an extension cord that we've got lying around. We literally just cut up a cord from a popcorn popper. The popcorn popper was junk, so I took the cord off. Literally just that type of really basic wire. Yeah, I know all the names. Don't worry, guys. I'll get better at this as time goes on. At the moment, I don't know what this is called, though. Other than just wire. I don't know what the gauge is here. I think it might be 12 gauge. I'm not even going to try. This is the same thing, except this has an outer, you know, outer sheet. But anyway. And then we're just going to take, since that popcorn popper extension cord is fairly long, we're just going to take that. We're going to wire it in here, and then we're going to cut it off, and then take, you know, we're going to, this went to the motor here, so we're going to take some of that wire, stick it out of here again, and then just have wire nuts, and you can wire the motor on or off with wire nuts, if that makes any sense. That wasn't a great explanation. I don't entirely know what all this stuff is called. And for some of you who say, well, Greg, you should really know what that is called. Yes, I entirely should know what that is, but I want to finish this series ASAP. As you can see, there's no capacitors or anything on here, so this is really simple. So that's why I'm just going with it. Yeah, this is really basic, and this was kind of hard to cut off, actually. I actually had to use scissors for that. Maybe my blades of my wire stripper are just really dull, I'm not sure. But oh wait, these have yeah, okay. This has the gauges right here, so I'm not sure. I just kind of tried the closest one that would fit. I think these are getting kind of dull, possibly. I'm not sure. Anyway, it was hard to cut. Here's the strain reliever for any of you who wanted to see it. Yeah, all this came out, and I'll tell you how I got it out. This is looking very... Look at the color that used to be. This is the old sun-bleached, crusty wire, and then that's what it would have looked like when it was new. Because it's been inside that strain reliever its whole life. And this thing is like... Is this falling apart? A little bit. It's a Heiko strain reliever. Oh boy, another Heiko. Yes. I think it still works. It's very dirty and dusty, but yeah, we're not going to be using this because there's absolutely no way that's going to fit into there. I'm not even sure if this particular strain reliever Heiko still exists. I don't know if this particular one is even available anymore. I don't know. Well, anyway, this is all getting thrown out. It's hard, and yeah, and actually, just for those of you who wanted to see it, here is the plug. Here is the male end of that. Again, we're missing our ground. This was the main thing that made me say, hey, maybe I should rewire this thing. Cordex Incorporated. This thing has seen a lot of use. Yep. Too bad. This is kind of a nice, kind of almost streamlined looking plug on here. And our new one doesn't, well, it kind of does. This is more or less the same. I don't know, the old one doesn't have this plastic face on it. So, yeah, it makes it look a lot more, makes it look a lot neater. And it has that, that on the top there. This has, what does that have? Just Home Depot HDX, nice. And of course, there's the warning label that we've just totally voided because we cut the end of this off. I am responsible for what happens at this point. If I get electrocuted, it's my fault. And of course, here's our replacement popcorn popper wire. Literally just the same stuff. We can just cut this. This isn't even long at all. Yeah, I've literally got enough wire here to wire the motor and wire this stuff, so that's great. Okay. One job at a time, though. We're gonna just wire our oh yeah, and here's the plug. Really big strain reliever on that. First things first, I don't know if you guys actually want to see me soldering or not. I don't know if it'd be worth watching, to be totally honest with you. We're just going to be desoldering those two terminals, or those two guys there, and then yeah, it's literally exactly what this looks like. We're literally just replicating this. And there's a really handy feature on this case. You can see there's the hole where the cord sticks in. This part comes off. This base here is held on by two mismatched screws, definitely replacements. That one has a square face on it. There's the vents. Yeah, this just comes right off. So you can just slide a new cord in there after you're done all your soldering and stuff like that. It's really convenient, and I believe that's the same story up here too. Yes, it is, except obviously there's no hole for a cord. But if you needed to take this off for some reason, you entirely can. That's a really nice feature. And I gotta give this company that, at least. That's a handy feature. Thanks, guys. You may have a clock motor with plastic gears, but otherwise you're actually not half bad. So just looking at this, you have the old wire goes up in here. I'm not sure which one you wire where because these aren't color coded minus the ground. All right, so here we are. We're totally rewired. I have got a 15-foot HDX extension cord here running through this. I don't have a strain reliever, so I've just wrapped this cord in tape, electrical tape that is, and I'm just letting it sit on there. And this insulation is fairly thick, so I don't think it's going to get cut by that rough kind of steel edge there. And then really this was quite easy. It was just a matter of figuring out what the live wire went to and what the neutral wire went to. The live is black, the neutral's white, and the ground is green. We just spliced the old ground terminal, whatever that connector thing is. We just spliced that on there and just are reusing it. We're using EcoSmart. Let me just grab the box for them. These were 97 cents. Soft white, A9, you know. You get the idea there. Yeah, I kind of messed up my number 10 there a little bit, so we're just using that as it is. This technically didn't really get serviced all that much, though. It was just putting more oil on it, basically. I was too scared to pop this open on this particular clock. I didn't want to wreck this, so that is staying together. These are not under that much. I know, this is a total mess here. These are not under that much strain, really. I mean, all it's doing is just turning the hands around. So that is not too challenging. And I'll show you guys more, you know, we'll get more involved with that clock there. You saw me take this apart. The rewiring, as I said, was fairly easy. I wouldn't want to show that off, though. Getting these wires soldered into these sockets were kind of annoying. I had to drill the old solder out with my drill press and a drill bit. And, yeah, but we made it work. I had the Watchworks on the line on Discord, and we basically just took the positives, hooked them up to the terminals, took the neutrals, and hooked them up to the whatever it's called, the neutral side of the socket. Alright, so now we're going again, and I don't know if this is running at the right time, necessarily. And you're thinking, well, Greg, it's a synchronous electric motor. I mean, how can it not run at the right time? It's literally being controlled by your local power, well, maybe I shouldn't say power plant, but power distributor. I'm not entirely sure. Point is, those guys are controlling this, and as you can see, the second hand has just stopped, and it keeps starting again. Greg, what the heck's the matter with it? Nothing with the motor, but it's actually the thread holding that hand on. Both the hand itself and the... Actually, I think it's just the hand itself that's doing that. There's a bit of... well, let's just say it's not threading on quite right, which is interesting because it really didn't want to come off originally. But after turning it, you know, it did eventually unscrew like it's supposed to. But yeah, it won't tighten. It'll screw on there, but at a certain point, it'll just start spinning. It won't tighten any further. So I'm not really sure how well this is going to run. I mean, obviously, it's running fine. I'm just wondering if somehow, I don't know, it doing that is somehow possibly speeding this up just by a little bit. Who knows? Maybe it's a trick of my eyes or something, but I keep thinking that this thing is gaining like half a minute in like 4 or 5 hours, every 4 or 5 hours. Who knows? It might be a trick of my eyes here. Maybe I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Well, I think we all know the answer to that, but to be less harsh, yes, that I'm not entirely sure about. I'm not entirely sure if this is going to run accurately. It probably is, but we'll see in the next part. We will build our Palm Dairies clock now, and I feel like I kind of just brushed over the motor, or the motors on these. I think I went a little, well, actually, yeah, the motors and the electrical wiring in this, I mean, as you saw, it was totally rewired. It was a matter of connecting my positive, well, live wires. I keep using the terms positive, but I don't think that's quite accurate for this particular thing, because the sources I was consulting didn't mention a positive, so maybe I'm just not understanding something. I'm not entirely sure there. But anyway, yeah, the live wire, just connecting those live terminals to the live wires and connecting the neutrals to the other empty rivet. I don't honestly know what that was, if that was some kind of, it's some kind of neutral, but I don't know how exactly that all works. Anyway, we've got this wired up now. I feel like I couldn't have done it without the Watchworks, but I don't know, he seems to think I could have done it alone. So thanks, really huge thanks to him for helping me out here. And yeah, it's all very simple wiring, guys. I'm just not all that educated on it. But anyway, we'll see if this somehow speeds this up, or maybe, you know, maybe it's just an entirely cosmetic thing. Because now, by my logic, or by that logic, it should be stopped right now. But you know, it's, the hand is moving independent of the shaft. There we go. That's a good way to describe it. So we will see if how well, or whatever, how well this runs, how accurate this is, and I will see you guys in the next part.